Hey, everybody in the chat. Welcome to the show.
All right, people in chat.
That's welcome number one,
live?
because I'm sure we're going to have like at least another 2 or 3 welcomes. Howdy, Whiskey Flipper and Grinwing. DJ Norman. There's some new people in here. I don't know this person.
I think your video is the primary at the moment on the stream.
Is it?
Let's see here.
Look at how cool I look.
I think so.
And this guy,
Yeah,
he's going to be on the
it's
show.
a lot of art.
Scott Christian Sava. We're going to introduce him formally in a little bit here. Yeah, and then we got Mark Shields. Look at that guy.
Oh, nice.
Dunder Mifflin. Well, you just changed.
Can you read that? That's good.
You had a wardrobe change.
I did, yes. My wife threw this at me while I was walking out of the door. She's like, wear this instead. The word paper, it's just that the word paper is on it. And I'm like, okay.
And then Brian's got the siren going.
She's thinking.
We need a little honk honk from Gadget, man. Come on, give us a horn.
I'm muted, but...
Oh, there.
There you go.
Yep, that cop will never figure out what happened.
Ted Koppel. What does Ted Koppel have to do with the show? What?
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
And actually, there's a Vectrex right here.
Oh God, I remember my Vectrex. I love that.
That Tempest is I don't think there's a board in there right now. It was stolen for something.
Okay.
But this is my office of like the stuff that I try to keep close to me and not let other people steal stuff from, and they got a board out of there.
You froze, Brian. You're going to need to reconnect.
Uh-oh.
SpaghettiOs.
I'll be back. It's my graphics card crashing because I just booted up my computer.
Okay.
It does this.
That's okay. It gives me...
You should be streaming off the Vectrex.
That's right. Little
that would be
black
awesome.
and white vector screen. Oh, I don't know how... That'd be interesting.
Can you imagine the chatter of the vector graphics trying to draw?
Oh yeah.
Oh, here's something
It
funny.
would never make it.
I found in researching news for this week. Actually, that's a total lie. I was researching parts for steering wheels, and I came across this site, flippers.com. The guy's out of Canada. I can't remember his name. He's John's Jukes. Anyway, I found this 2000 questions quiz show tape, revision A, by Key Games on 8-track.
What?
What would that be for?
2XL maybe?
I mean, it makes no sense.
8-track game?
And well, it's a 2000 questions Key Games 8-track. I don't know what it's for. It says a wholly owned subsidiary of Atari, and then on the edge it has a part number 1977.
Sounds a lot like a 2XL. I mean, did you ever own a 2XL?
No, I don't even know what that is.
It's like a little robot, and it had 8-track tape in it, and it would all 4 tracks actually. At one point, when you start, all have the same audio, and so when you answer a question,
this is Key Games.
you pick up. You're basically. I don't. Just try to.
No, so that's a good.
You gotta
2XL, the little robot.
Yeah. Yep.
Was that made by
Robot is just an
Mattel?
8-track. I doubt it.
Tomy?
I don't know. I'm Googling as your Wikipedia 2XL.
2XL.
2XL Pro disinfecting and sanitizing products. Oops, that's not-
20XD6.
Was it not 2XL? I don't know.
I don't know. Oh, here's a question for Scott.
Game.
Did you ever watch Homestar Runner?
Oh, the cartoon?
Yeah.
Web.
Web cartoon.
That's the strong bad guy, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
A little bit, because I was doing web comics at the time.
Oh,
so
okay.
I a little bit, but I never really got into it.
It's fun. They have a video game series too. But they had this Strong Bad comes up with his own comic book character in his anime style. And he's like 20XD6. It's like totally made up. It's pretty funny.
I don't know why that guy
It's
doesn't
funny
revive
because
that. It's a really good property.
Oh yeah. Is Brian back yet?
I don't.
He's still frozen.
How do you define back?
Well, I do see his back. DJ Norman, Caxi PS06. What?
I don't know what I'm talking
There
about.
was one? What?
I was looking for my sunglasses so that it looks like I'm always looking at the camera, but I'm going to give up on that.
I got to see if I can
I
get
don't know where they are.
the show notes because I...
All right, you haven't looked at the show notes yet.
No, it's going to be a
show.
blind read tonight. Yeah.
Now I'm going to go type in something I want Adam to say that he would never normally say. Let's see.
It's like, okay.
I like a Duda Cha-Cha.
I like a do the cha-cha. Bullet Man. I watched the first 20 minutes of that movie. I was trying to find the Howard Jones song. I didn't find it yet.
No, it's not about the 40-minute mark.
Okay. I'm gonna go find it.
Have you ever met?
I just bought the soundtrack tonight too, by the way.
Oh, so good.
The last CD copy from Amazon
Yeah.
said only one left.
I met Howard Jones once, and we were asking if he wanted to get into the DeLorean that I brought, and he said no because he was worried he wouldn't get out of it again. So, it was very.
Which is, there's a fair amount of irony in that statement since he's so svelte. It's not like he's got COVID pounds like I do.
Well, this was a few years back, but
Sure.
it was one of those corporate parties, and I'm like, I don't understand why you're having this party and what the purpose is of it, but I didn't care, so good times.
I don't know why, but I can never find season 6. It's like you didn't share the folder with me.
Oh.
So I don't, I have
can
to
work
like
on that.
hunt around for where it is.
Brian
Brian's
Brian
even
just
in there.
perpetually blinking, or did he freeze again?
I froze again.
Okay.
We'll
Hello.
see. Hopefully I come through this one. I had to reboot. If
I
this
found
doesn't
it.
work, I'm grabbing the laptop.
7:23. The show. We should probably go live pretty soon. I mean, we're already live.
Yeah,
but
why
we
not?
should probably like hit the button.
Hit the button. Start the show. The shoe.
Well, you know, before I do something crazy, I'm gonna make sure I can get to the show notes. Should I need to during the show?
Okay.
You know, because we're so organized.
I could share you the link.
Scott's starting to
think I
wonder.
could do
He's
that.
like, "What the hell did I get myself in?"
This is a professional show for 6 years,
Oh, yeah.
and Nolan Bushnell. Come on.
Come on, we know what we're doing. We had Jerry Buckner on the show first season. Pac-Man Fever. Number 2 in the top
He
10,
didn't sing it
1982.
though.
Yeah, oh, he did not sing it.
We couldn't
Well, that's
afford
'cause-
the royalty. No.
Well, it's funny. He told us go ahead and use whatever we want on the show, and then we got flagged anyway.
Right.
You can't really do that. I mean, like he doesn't own it,
Right.
sort of.
It's like, oh, I told them it's okay.
Right.
Jerry said it was okay.
All right. Let's see
I
if
got a
this
note.
works. Yeah, I got a note. Sorry, unable to open this at this time. Unable to.
You still can't do it?
No, I'm fine. Yeah, no, it's good. We're good.
Okay, good.
I just need to make sure to put the whole URL in there. Get request in background. What does that mean? Nothing like learning on the show. Okay.
That allows the FBI agents access to the.
That
Oh, wait,
worked.
no.
Okay. Is Brian back or is he still frozen?
He's probably getting his laptop.
Oh, he is
I heard his
frozen.
voice.
That's funny. I can see his face and it's just him smiling, looking at the monitor. Hey, chatter, should we
He
get
does
go
look smug.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's all kinds of chat going on here. Billy 7 joined us. Ice Cold Joe was in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. Whoever that guy is. Speaking of which, there is a great article. I'm going to post it later when other people are talking about homebrew pinball. So Christopher Graham, Jabaruga, is a homebrew pinball guy. So great article. It's the title is based on a CAX panel called How to Build a Pinball Machine in 4,671 Simple Steps.
Sheesh.
Hey, Scott, do you have any pinball or arcade in your house?
No. My friend Ron's been trying to get me to pick up one of his. He's got about 7 or 8 of them pinball machines.
Oh.
My dad used to work at Midway back before Atari, and so we always had pinball machines in the house. I love them, but with the Hobbit hole, we just don't have room.
Yeah, and if you did get one, you'd need to get a Hobbit.
Right.
The Hobbit one,
It
yeah.
would have to be Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, your dog's name is Arwen.
Yeah.
My dog's name is Arya, Game of Thrones.
Oh, nice.
So, I like sort of fantasy names for
Yeah.
animals.
Yeah, I feel bad. My dogs are DC though. They're Barry Allen and Damian Wayne. So I don't know. I don't know how your allegiance goes. Pretty sure you're a Marvel
I named one of
guy,
my
Frank.
kids Logan. After
Logan.
Oh, that's
yes.
good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
Does
I
he
was friends
think-
with I was friends with Len Wein at the time before he passed away,
Oh.
and so it was like it seemed appropriate. It was a cool name.
Yeah.
And
That's
if there was going to be a girl, it was going to be Mary Jane. So
There you go.
Oh,
yeah.
All right, chatters.
well done, sir.
All right, arcaders. Let's get this show on the road. And then I have to read some show notes. All right.
Live from KOYR Studios in Minneapolis, Minnesota, this is Arcade Radio.
Whoa, that was really loud. Thanks for listening in from the Arcadosphere. This is Season 6, Episode 5 of the Arcade Radio Podcast. Today is Thursday, January 13th, 2022, and the time is now approximately 7:29 p.m. Central. I'm your host, Professor Adam Wayne. I like a duda cha-cha. I'm joined by my co-host, Mark. With great power comes great responsibility, shields. And last and least, Paradise Arcade Shop proprietor and former American Gladiator, it's Brian Thurston Howell Armitage III. And joining us tonight, he's more than the sum of his arcade parts. Husband, father, animator, illustrator, director, writer, and producer. He's worked on such franchises as Casper, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, X-Files, Star Wars, Star Trek, Spider-Man, and even penned a script for a Huey Lewis in the News video. But wait, there's more, ladies and gents. A warm round of applause for Mr. Scott Christian Sava. All right.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hey, welcome to the show. This is the golf clap part of the show.
Golf clap.
Yes.
Kind.
Well, we figure there'll be a bigger applause later. So the first thing we usually do is talk
Yes.
about what we've been working on. I'll start because I'm on a roll here.
Okay.
Been working on a fire truck. Big surprise. However, you can now steer the front of the truck and the back of the truck. So 1978 Star Trek. Star Trek. Where did that come from? 1978. That is when Star Trek came out. But this is Fire Truck. That came out the same year, apparently. So, first cooperative video game by Atari and black and white. And it is mostly functional. There's one small issue with some text where Score wants to spell itself with an F somehow. I don't know.
Of course.
It's just Scafor. So I got to figure that out. It's probably a wiring issue. But Billy 7, shout out to Billy 7. He came over and we figured out that there was some wiring problems because I had to repin the connector because it had burned off. And so he graciously told me that there were some wires that bled color onto another ones. That may be why it happened. You know, it's probably just because I'm terrible at seeing things these days. So anyway, that's coming along, and I am rebuilding the steering wheels with new old stock parts so that they spin nicely and turn nicely. And I finally found some Atari buttons that I needed, the cone buttons, you know. A couple of those are missing, so I've been putting together steering wheels for the past week and taking them apart. So I have an APB steering wheel. I have, a jump bug steering wheel, and I have 2 fire truck steering wheels and and then another fire truck steering wheel. There's 5 steering wheels in my family room torn apart right now. So that's what I've been working on. Wow. Mark, what you been working on?
Let's see. So my environmental discs of Tron, I finally figured out how to get the flashing fluorescent lights running. I had a couple bad transistors. I'm sorry?
Noise.
What was that?
Noise.
Oh, noise, yes. So that's exciting, and now I'm getting used to the playing while there's a bright UV light in my face. I didn't realize that was going to be something that was going to change my life. I have a ColecoVision that you sent me. I've been trying to get its little adapter to convert video, and that did not work as planned, but I have some minions that are helping, and that's a possibility that it may actually get going.
So are they telling you that? So are they telling you that you can get the composite on that thing to work?
Correct. They're giving me alternate points to solder into on the board.
Okay.
Apparently, the guy who wrote the manual and did this board was sort of freeballing it. That is the exact term they were using. And I was in a meeting today at work, and I said, "Oh, I'm just freeballing it." And then somebody said, "I don't think you can say that." And I'm like, "Wait, what does it mean?" And then they told me, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry." I thought it was like a bowling term or something. Okay. Anyway, now I know. I don't know. Whatever. I mean, we had other terms in Texas.
Free balling.
Yes. It's been a busy week. Also, I have an Atari 720 that didn't have a chassis until last weekend, and I put it in, and then no picture. But then I saw the part of the board had fried off, so then I had to figure out what chips, so I had to buy those. That was fun. So that's coming. That's going to be a good thing. And I took, last but not least, the screen-used van from the movie Napoleon Dynamite, the Uncle Rico van. I took that in for repairs because it's been leaking multiple fluids, and I just wanted to get, in running condition just in case Disney comes calling again.
Sweet. Yeah, Scott, very briefly, you understand Mark said he had a DeLorean earlier, but he's sort of a movie car guy.
I collect movie cars. They're they're pretty large objects. I've stopped at 6. But I own the screen-used van from Napoleon Dynamite.
You're going to have to tell me if you have any of these.
Oh, wait, no. Is that a Batmobile down there?
Yeah.
I do have the DeLorean, so yes.
Yeah, and that's Kit right there.
Is that Kit? Yeah, I do have Kit. Yes.
And then the Mach 5. And then
right, I wish.
The DB5. And the Trans Am. And the Lotus from Spy Who Loved Me.
James Bond. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And the Dukes of Hazzard car, which is very controversial now.
Well,
yeah.
Right. I got a couple out of those.
Do you remember when Do you remember when the most controversial thing about Dukes of Hazzard is when Coy and Vance took over?
Are those the two brothers?
Those are
The
cousins.
cousins who came in.
Because like
they were horrible.
yeah, because Luke and Bo were like holding out for bigger salaries.
Did they eventually come back? And then
Yeah,
how
they
did.
did. They
How-
totally
how-
kicked those guys off the show. Like Coy and Vance, what the hell? Get out of our car.
My son and I have been restoring a 67 Mercury Cougar,
Oh, cool.
XR7, and that has been a lot of fun. And
Nice.
yeah, I know nothing about cars, so we've been learning as we go.
Sure.
I love. I'm glad there's Google and forums. You know, like
Yeah.
there's always the Facebook group that's the car they do, and they're like,
Yep.
ah, right.
The Mercury Cougar,
Yeah,
Cougar looks kind of like a GTO.
A little bit.
A little bit different styling, but the double grill in the front, very cool.
Thought I had.
So that's all I got. Other than I was in my attic and I noticed that you know how you have a drip pan. Somebody put a piece of wood under my AC unit into the drip pan. It was rotting, so I took that out. What? Whose idea was that? I asked my wife. She's like, I don't know. What? I have nothing to do with that. And I'm like, all right, good. So,
Grinwing says
all I've been
he
working
loves that you're the Cougar, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thanks.
and Christopher Graham says that his dog's name is Sick.
Sick.
Sick Adam.
what?
Oh, that's not even funny.
Oh.
That's
I get it.
I don't get it.
Huh.
Okay, let's kick that guy out of the chat. Let's kick him out
So
right
what's-
now. Okay,
What have you been working on, Brian? Yeah.
Trying to get my computer to work.
well, it looks a lot better. I'll tell you that.
You needed. It looks
So-
like you needed additional lighting. So.
Yeah.
Well, I have this graphics card issue, and I think when Skype was open at the same time, it just would completely crash. Whereas now it like did this little crash, came back, and we're on.
Good,
what have I
good.
been working on arcade wise? I have scanned. Actually, I don't have a panel here. Snake Pit is scanned and done. That's ready to go. Got another Bally Senti cabinet. It's going to become a Snake Pit. And then I have actually almost finished doing all the artwork for the Space Harrier Deluxe cabinet.
Nice.
So I picked up a converted Space Harrier Deluxe. A local guy got a Space Harrier Deluxe without the seat for $500, and he brought it down to the shop. So I'm fixing it basically for him for free and scanning his artwork. So I get artwork out of it. He gets the cabinet fixed. So it's working out. Those have been my big projects.
Sweet. Well, with that, we're gonna move right into gadgets because
We got one.
I always felt that the true stars at Atari was engineering.
Oh, you're an inventor.
Yes, I am.
What have you invented?
A lot of things.
Like?
Like a lot of things. Like things that you've heard of.
Like?
Well, things that you will have heard of, okay? Patents are patent pending.
Arcade Gadgets with Brian McLeod.
Welcome to the gadget segment. So I will apologize. I drove from Duluth to Green Bay to Minneapolis this morning. So I have not gone through the gadget. Oh, and my Rush thing just disappeared. Is that in the news now? I was going to read it.
Yeah. I accidentally pasted the news articles into the gadgets tab, and then I thought I had enough time before you noticed that I could move it back.
I got a gadget.
that's cool.
Oh, okay, that's very pretty.
So this is the new Lunar Lander board, fully working, functional. And so we are working on a few discussions we're having with this, but planning on doing these without any chips installed. People can build them up, but this one is now functioning fully. We had a couple of traces to fix in the back that will be fixed on the final version. And then I'm actually debating. So when Atari released this, the schematics are not correct. And so they kind of have a few lines that were either missing or adjusted later. I don't know whether it was intentional or unintentional, but there's some of the traces on here actually had to be changed to reflect. We actually based this board on the original board, and the schematics in the board didn't match. So we've created the schematics as a process of doing this. We haven't just created the board. And so one of the things that I'm actually debating doing is getting the new schematics printed up on like correct schematics with all the traces done properly on kind of original newsprint style print and selling that in conjunction with the board.
That'd be kind of cool, actually.
Nice.
So we actually are either way this is going to come out. But one of the things that we've debated doing was actually making this more of an official collectible thing, and hopefully I'll have some more details after a meeting tomorrow on that. But for now, these are coming.
If you're going to meet with Atari, are they going to throw NFTs at you and stuff, or what's going to be like?
I don't know what's going to happen. But one of the discussions is, can we make this more of a, so with the direct print printer, I don't have any of the PCBs in here, we can actually print artwork directly to the PCB.
Nice.
And so we can create this, make this actually a piece of art and kind of a little more of a collectible. So you can do like a summary of the game and why it was significant on the back, and then maybe have the actual graphics from the game printed across the front.
Sweet.
And so something like that combined with the schematics we thought would be a fun package. But one way or the other, the corrected schematics will be out there. So
okay. I want to ask Scott a question.
Yes.
So this is an early board, like 1970 something, right?
Yeah.
And you said your dad worked at Midway first. So were you in Chicago?
No, this was in Florida. They had a division as Bally Midway in Florida.
Okay. So you lived in Florida, and then did you guys move to California?
Yeah, in 1980.
Okay.
He got an offer to work at Atari.
So were you going to Atari as early as 80 then?
Yeah.
That's cool.
That is the right time.
That is the right time. All right, we'll get more into that later. That's just a little tease.
That's the gadget for tonight.
Sweet. So did you ever play Lunar Lander while you were there, Scott?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. That was the answer to that question, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice.
Lunar Lander was cool. It was cool.
It's a certainly
simulated gravity and everything.
Yeah.
And just trying to, you know.
I love gravity games. They're like my favorite. Okay, cool. So
when you're 12, you know,
there are better games.
Things,
but
there, yeah.
I got when you're, my age. Now it's a fun game.
Yeah, exactly.
You sit in front of it. You don't have to compete against anyone except yourself.
Yeah. No line of people, no quarters lined up play.
No embarrassment when you crash into the side of a mountain. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So, Brian, are we gadgeted out right now?
That you know what? That's what I mean. I've got tons of gadgets, but they're all discussed today. But the other thing that we are doing, I'll do quickly.
Yep.
Met with Production House on ice cold beer today.
Nice.
Kind of cool. So that's what I was up in Green Bay for. They might be doing production. Unit has taken another step forward. We're still hoping for like more May than April on the release of that, but we should have a full working production unit into Up Down this week.
Up Down in Minneapolis.
Yep, and then hopefully we'll have one out at Barcade in New York in the next couple weeks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So fun stuff there.
What do you think, Mark?
Let's go to New York. Come on, let's go.
All right. That's good. What happened? Oh my God.
Oh, and I go.
What now?
As I say, and I go to Atlanta tomorrow to scan Zeke's Peak.
Oh, good.
Ooh.
Can I hit the queue now?
You can hit the queue now.
Okay.
You're allowed to. Go ahead. Queue.
Back in '82, I used to be able to throw a pigskin quarter mile.
Back to the Cade with
Why are things so heavy in the future? Is there a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull?
Hey kids, welcome to Back to the Cade, where we talk about something that has to do in the past. What are we going to talk about tonight? The 10 hardest classic arcade games that you will never be able to beat. I'm not sure who built this list. Adam suggested it. It's from Screen Rant.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? I blocked Screen Rant on Facebook because I hate them so much.
They are very clickbaity, I think.
Yeah, I believe that's the term for it.
So let's just quickly go through these 10 names. We won't necessarily read all the stuff they've written, but
sure, yeah.
The first one, I think number 10, this implies not the number one most difficult, but Galaxian. Anybody in here? I mean,
Group discussion. I mean, first of all, it is a hard game. I think it's more challenging than Galaga, actually.
Yeah. I mean,
you have limited movement. You can only go side to side. You know.
Well, you can only go side to side in Galaga, also, right? So.
That's true.
Yeah, I played Galaga first. So when I look at, Galaxian, I'm like, from the early days. I don't know.
See, I mean, the whole title of this, like classic arcade games you'll never be able to beat. That's pretty much all of them for me.
Right. Exactly, and that was the point.
I've never beaten an arcade game in my life.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Although we have had Ken House and Billy Mitchell and Steve Wiebe. So we've had a few people that have beaten games.
Yeah, a lot of kill screen guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're in the same club as you, man.
No, yeah. There was one time this tubular Rubik's Cube ripoff thing. I was really good at it, but other than that, no. No.
Wasn't a video game.
Yeah, Lee Riley on the bus liked it. She was a cute girl. Anyway, hey, what? Next, Donkey Kong, of course. Very difficult. Stargate. Duh. Even Defender. I feel Defender and Stargate equally difficult. Anybody? Anyone?
Yeah, some people say that Stargate's harder. But
well, I mean, I agree. It is. It's like Super Zaxxon.
Yeah.
How many more ways are there for me to die? Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Because Zaxxon wasn't easy enough to die in.
Right. And
Zaxxon was at such an odd angle.
Yeah, that's isometric 3D.
Off. Yeah.
You're not exactly going 45 degrees.
Kind of going
30 maybe? I don't know.
Which is weird because I could play Qbert, but I could not play Zaxxon.
No. But I would hit all of the walls because it's like in my mind, I should not,
Yeah.
Couldn't.
Right.
Qbert, you still moved in diagonals. Zaxxon, you moved in that orthogonal plane. That was the weird thing about it. Like Qbert was still like it was you moved at an angle, but like everything was in angles. And Zaxxon, you're trying to move straight up and down, side to side, but it was orthogonals. It really messed with you.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Return of the Jedi too, that piece of crap.
Oh, yeah, that's another sideways one.
Yeah.
It's weird that they give you the same Star Wars, controller though.
Yeah.
It should have been like this.
Well, and there was a guy, and I think I mentioned this on a show before, but there was a guy that was going to make a Return of the Jedi that was a vector version, and it had you're flying a speeder bike through the woods. That would have been cool.
What happened?
He never finished it.
Dang it!
Kind of like Adam in his pole position FPGA.
So there's a lot of them on this list. There's Tempest, of course, beautiful game, but super hard.
It's pretty hard.
Robotron.
Very hard.
Robotron's just fun.
It is.
Robotron's not supposed to be beaten. It's just supposed to be fun because there's just,
it's frenetic.
It's like
shooting in every direction.
Right.
Right. It's like going to a picnic that's very fully populated, and you've got 4-way guns. So
totally. When you play that game, you're free balling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's it. So Defender was also on the list, of course, and a rare one, Ghosts and Goblins, on the list.
I hate that game. It's so hard.
I never liked it.
Yeah,
I love the graphics, but within 20 seconds, I'm naked.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So it's like a regular party for you.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, Adam's not wearing pants now. Anyway. So now I've never heard of this one, Solomon's Key.
Oh yeah, I know that one.
You do?
Yep.
Yeah, no clue. 86 game, and then R-Type 1987 game.
I have that.
But and then they finish it off with a good one, I think, Sinistar.
Oh. Yeah,
Sinistar's got the coolest with the voice.
Yeah.
That actually would scare me as a kid.
Me too.
Because you hear that and you just your heart starts racing.
Yes.
I hunger.
Totally.
A block away from here is a Circle K where I first played it, and I was like, man, they have such an evil game here for the Circle K. And
Evil K.
It was evil game. It was angled away to where they couldn't see what you're playing, and I was like, oh, this is very strange. So that's the 10, and then I guess we get to move to the other half where we ask Adam if he has the cue ready.
Oh, it's right here. It's right here.
Isn't it a button you push?
Yeah, it's under the WITJ button.
Okay. Let's see. What is it?
It's this one.
Okay.
What's in the juke?
Hey, everybody. If you have 5 minutes of life to waste, let's play What's in the Juke. Welcome to the Season 6 edition. It's the game within a podcast. Today we have brain-twisting movie quotes spoken by unusual speech synthesizers. If you can guess the actor's name, you will get...
Oh, yeah. You get a
half point.
Half point, yeah.
Half point.
If you can guess that character they're playing, the character's name in the movie,
you also get a
half point.
Right. If you can guess both,
full point.
Why not?
If you do not know, please fight it out amongst yourselves. Cobra Kai. All right. Now that the fighting is what?
Someone always gets a little carried away with that.
Ah, yeah, that's good.
I don't know. All right. Well, we should probably give Scott a couple of rules. Yeah.
Sure, Scott. So everybody is on about 10-second delay as far as our chatters. But if you'd like to play, we will count your scores. And we will not chastise you that you're 10 seconds ahead. Okay, good. I'm thinking that you may know these. So I'm going to give you a hint. All from the same movie, just different characters.
Oh, no.
Okay. Yes.
Just different characters.
Correct.
Okay. Well, I'm having a technical difficulty here.
Me too. I realized that the list that I made is not the actual full list of the things. So just let me go in here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that.
Wait. What my problem isn't that. It's different than that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I just fixed it. So.
Gee, I may not have done 10. There may be only
1,
about
2,
8.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10.
Are there? Just don't play the PKF files. Those are not really files.
Oh, yeah. There's only 7. That's good.
Okay, good.
We only need 7.
Good.
Right?
Yeah.
The PKF files. Those are something F.
Some kind of metadata that Adobe Audition throws in there for
All
fun.
right. Let's get this show on the road.
Hello.
Since when can weathermen predict the weather, let alone the future?
Oh my
Okay, that was horrible.
That's very clearly enunciated.
All right,
sir.
let's try this again without me talking.
Okay.
Since when can weathermen predict the weather, let alone the future?
I'm telling you, that's tough right there. Anybody in the chat?
They are quoting. What's the name of that band that had
Ferris Bueller?
No, not Ferris Bueller. Matthew.
That was last week.
Yeah.
Back to the Future. Joe Drossen.
Oh, he got it. Joe Drossen. Good job, sir.
Yep, that was Marty McFly. Since when can weathermen predict the weather?
Wow.
Was that Marty McFly?
It was.
Okay. All right. You would know, right? Okay, here we go.
Are you trying to tell me that my mother has got the hots for me?
I think that's racist. I'm not really sure how, but I think it's racist.
These are just voice synthesizers I picked at random, okay? Stop with your brain.
Sorry.
Marty.
Are you trying to tell me that my mother has got the hots for me?
Okay, that's pretty funny, actually. Oh.
Does anybody know the actor? Anyone at all? Oh, Whiskey Flipper. There you go, sir. Michael J. Fox, right.
He got Marty McFly, too.
Yep, I got Grinwing.
There's a couple of half points in there. Somebody gets a point.
And it's good. Good times all around.
All right. Here comes the third clip.
There's that word again. Heavy. Why are things so heavy in the future? Is there a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull?
I think they should all be in that voice from now on.
That's a good one.
There's that word again. Heavy. Why are things so heavy in the future? Is there a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull?
So Grinwing got Doc Brown. That is correct.
Half point.
And anybody know the actor? Anyone? Grinwing also with Christopher Lloyd. All right, guys. Good job.
Okay, here comes your next clip.
Last night, Darth Vader came down from planet Vulcan and told me that if I didn't take Lorraine out, that he'd melt my brain.
Okay, this should be done in that voice.
I love that voice.
That's hilarious.
Last night, Darth Vader came down from planet Vulcan and told me that if I didn't take Lorraine out, that he'd melt my brain.
Crispin Glover, that is correct. Whiskey Flipper. And George McFly, Mr. Peabody. Good job, sir.
Half point for both those guys. Here comes your next clip.
Stand tall, boy. Have some respect for yourself. Don't you know that if you let people walk all over you know, they'll be walking all over you for the rest of your life?
I think if you can't understand it when you record it, Mark, you should not re-record it.
See, the thing is, this is a French accent, and I speak French, and so I know exactly what she's saying.
Parlez-vous francaise?
Yes.
Non?
Scott, do you speak any foreign languages?
Stand tall, boy. Have some respect for yourself. Don't you know that if you let people walk all over you know, they'll be walking all over you for the rest of your life?
Whiskey Flipper said it sounds like his wife.
Yeah. Incorrect. That was Mayor Goldie Wilson.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Okay, we're just going to go right into the next clip.
Yeah, I think it's a major embarrassment having an uncle in prison. Yeah, I think it's a major embarrassment having an uncle in prison.
Unclean prison?
Yeah,
Uncle
I think
in prison.
It's a major embarrassment having an uncle in prison.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I think it's a major embarrassment having an uncle in prison.
Shark.
It sounds like it's a major embarrassment having an unclean prison.
That's the idea.
Half point.
Somebody got that, right?
No, nobody got it. That was Linda McFly, Marty's sister.
Oh, that's
sorry,
too bad.
guys.
Okay, here comes your last clip.
I'm almost 18 years old. It's not like I've never parked before.
Okay, that one should be... Yes, somebody should be able to get that.
I'm almost 18 years old. It's not like I've never parked before.
I think that's a Scottish accent. I'm not 100% sure. Grinwing with Leah Thompson. There you go, sir.
Point.
Lorraine McBain's McFly with Whiskey Flipper. So that means Grinwing won 2 points. Whiskey Flipper with second place, 1.5. Joe Drossen with 1 point, and Mr. Peabody with a half point. Thanks for playing, everybody.
Oh, that was... Yeah, we should give them a round of applause if we can find the applause button.
Where's that button?
It's nowhere to be found.
You don't have an icon with hands clapping? There you go.
All right, so the next segment of the show is something we like to call the voicemail.
Yes. We have so many voicemails, not.
I mean, there's one.
I mean, yeah, if you guys ever want to leave a voicemail, 612-548-GAME. That's 4263 if you cannot spell game.
That's right. Okay, so I think I know who this is, but we'll check it out anyway.
612-548-GAME.
Thank you for calling 612-548-GAME. This is RcadeRadio. Please leave your message after the tone.
Oh, there's a problem with the voicemail.
What?
I hate it when that happens.
Uh-oh.
Let's try that again.
Okay.
Hey everybody, it's your buddy, Bob Zarsadek, control panel expert and technician. Hey, you know, when I was just a wee child, I too was a paper boy. I worked for this little company out on the East Coast. They had me deliver the paper basically at all times of the day. It was weird, I wish I could remember the name of them. It was something like a Blunder Muffin or Bonner Blitzen, something Bonder, Dunder Mifflin, that's it, yeah. Dang, I almost forgot. Anyway, yeah, this is gonna be a quick one. Got a little cough. I've been outside and kicking up dirt, and apparently you're not supposed to breathe that in. Now I know. This is new information. So I've got a fire to take care of, and I'm pretty sure I remember where that extinguisher is. You guys have a great show, and kudos to everyone. Zarzadek out.
That's it, huh?
I wonder if he left that message because one of our guests may have worked with John Krasinski or something like that. Who knows?
I don't know. That's interesting. And he was a Paperboy. It's interesting the
connection.
Crisscross.
And you were even like, you're wearing like a t-shirt that looks like it could have been from the place that he worked.
I'm sure that John Krasinski never mentioned this at all. That's the show.
It
was never even brought up.
That guy.
Like an afterthought.
Scott, you ever work with a guy named John Krasinski?
Who's that? Yeah,
I don't recall.
No, okay,
Yeah,
good.
No.
Maybe his wife.
Nah. Wait, A Quiet Place? Yeah, nice.
Oh yeah. Oh, that means we're up to. I mean, we're close to that part right now.
That interview part.
Oh yeah, we like that part. Okay, let's do this. Whoa. Oh, good. He didn't get any jeering tonight. This is a part of the show where we welcome our guest for the second time, Scott Christian Sava. Welcome to the show.
Hey, everybody.
So we have a series of questions that we normally ask our guests. We're going to throw them all out the window.
Yes.
Because it's
not applicable.
Yeah. Tonight we have very special guest. We listed as some of your accolades, and we need to go through some of this. Well, Mark usually asks this question. Mark, what question do you start the show off with usually?
Well, usually I ask, as a youth, what were your circumstances when you became hooked on arcade games? So this is sort of a mixed bag here. It's like, is it a result of being around the people who made them, or what was that situation for you?
My first memory was visiting my dad's work in Florida at Bally Midway, because he would work on slot machines and pinball machines. He was a mechanical engineer. And I remember I came in one day and they had Space Invaders.
Oh.
And it was just like the coolest thing, because that was my first introduction to video games, was Space Invaders. And so I played that forever. That was a lot of fun. I remember my next video game was Omega Race.
Oh, yeah.
Which I really loved Omega Race.
That's the one right behind me. Not that
Is
it was
it?
intentional. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know if I can zoom back. but
Mine's in the other room.
I love my Omega Race.
Yeah, I loved it. I always thought it was so cool. And
no offense to Ed Log, but I think it beat the pants off Asteroids.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it so much better than Asteroids. And then my dad got the job offer to go to California and work at Atari. And then from there, it was just the Atari 2600 and all the arcade games. And, I mean,
Brian, I think you had a question about this very thing. Here's this guy.
Well, yeah. So I was gonna ask you, what was it like? I mean, as a kid, having a father that you got to go and play these games that other people couldn't even see yet sometimes.
Yeah.
Were you like the popular kid? Like everybody's like, oh, that's amazing, and they want to be a friend. Or were you like the outcast where they're like,
no one
only knew.
Yeah. The only time any kid would try to get friendly with me because my dad worked at Atari was to see if I can get discounted Atari 2600 cartridges. I didn't know too many kids who hung out at the arcade. And so it was, at that time, it was the Atari 2600 craze. So everybody was just going home and playing with the cartridges. They weren't really going into the arcades as much. But yeah, no, I mean, when your dad works at Atari in between 1980 and 84, I would call in, I'm feeling sick, or if it was Memorial Day or whatever, any chance I could, I was in there. And I just, and my dad was pretty cool about it, because he would just, I would just be another passenger in the car, and he would say, okay, I'll see you at lunch. And for 3, 4, 5 hours, I was just in the arcade, just playing games. And
that's
awesome.
awesome.
He'd come and grab me for lunch, and they had a little cafeteria there. We'd eat some food, and then I just play games for the rest of the day. So it was heaven.
Did you ever sneak into other people? Not sneak, but did you ever just walk around and hover over people's shoulders?
Yeah, I would. And I got to play a lot of games that never got seen or anything. But honestly, they weren't that exciting, because they were mechanically not all there. That like my dad, I think one of the fun things was, because my dad was a mechanical engineer, so he wasn't a game designer or anything like that. But he would design, he designed the first moving seat, and they tried it out on Star Wars, the Vector, game. So he hooked it up to that, and so I got to play that before anybody, ever sat in a seat that actually moved around, and so that was really fun. They also hooked it up to, this was later on, the Laserdisc game. It was a Clint Eastwood movie.
Firefox.
Firefox. Thank you. So they hooked it up to that, which was pretty cool too.
Now, this sort of plays. Go ahead.
It's good.
I was going to say, this plays into another question Brian had, because Brian's working on a prototype version of a certain game.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask you, did you, not to jump ahead to some stuff, but Paperboy, did you play, the first time you ever saw that or played it, did you play because the prototype was a Return of the Jedi cabinet?
No, I didn't know what I was. So I was there so much that they just said, you know what, Bob, my dad's name, you know what, Bob, next time you bring your kid in, have him bring his bike, because we could, and so I didn't know what it was for. And my dad wasn't working on the game. And so I just remember that there was a day where I got to bring my bike, which is like even cooler, it's cool that you're going to Atari, but if you get to go to Atari with your bike, it was even cooler, because I actually was riding my bike through the halls, which was really fun. And so they took me out, and they got up on the second story, and they just filmed me. And they built a little ramp. They had me jump over there. And I got to take the ramp home with me too.
Oh, so they had the isometric view of you from the roof.
Yeah, yeah.
That is really brilliant.
Yeah, so they just had me jump over the ramps. They gave me stuff to throw. And I used to wear my hat backwards all the time. And so they just kind of kept that. And so that was just really fun. But I had no idea what it was for. They just, it's like, you're here for free. They need you for a couple hours. Go. I was like, okay, cool. I get to ride my bike, and I get to jump over a ramp and stuff. So what did I care? But there were so many games. And even when I wound up working at Atari later on, you found out that 80% of the games that are in development never see the light of day. So
sure.
You don't think anything of it after a while. And you're just like, okay, everybody's an evil scientist trying to create something, and every once in a while it's alive, but for the most part it doesn't happen. And so even at that age, I was just pretty cool with it. I did my thing, and it wasn't until 2 years later that I was at a little grocer, which is like a 7-Eleven, and with my friend, and I saw this game with the handlebars, and I saw the picture. And then I watched the video, and I was like, "That's me, that's me. I'm Paper." But I had no clue going up, and and then, so that was when did that come out? 84, 85?
Paperboy,
I think.
It was one of those two, yeah.
Yeah, and so I was in high school. I didn't go to work for Atari until 92. So it was 8 years later.
That's funny.
And I wound up working with the same people who animated me, who, you know, they were still there. And so we had so many, like when I got hired, they actually introduced me as, and this is the kid who was Paperboy, like to the rest of Atari. So it was really kind of cool because it was just, for 8 years, I was like in my head going, I know that's me, but there's no paper trail. There's credit in it. There's no nothing. And my dad didn't remember because he wasn't working on the game, you know? And so it wasn't until I got to Atari 8 years later that they confirmed it. They're like, yeah, we rotoscoped you. We did this, we did that, you know? And so that was kind of cool.
And then you're like, where's my check?
Yeah, where's my royalty checks for that? Where's my SAG card?
I got a job right out of college. That was pretty cool as a game designer, you know, so I was pretty happy.
Was that at Sega?
Huh?
Was that one? Where was that first game?
No, Sega, I was still in school. I was an intern.
Oh.
Yeah, so the story of Sega was, see, I was an illustration major. I just wanted to do comic books. I just wanted to be the artist on Spider-Man. I had no interest in working in video games, but my dad saw that they were looking for artists, and I was going to art school in San Francisco, so he was just like, just apply. And I walked in, and there was, so this was 1990, and Mark Cerny was the head of Sega of America, and I think now he's running Naughty Dog or Electronic Arts or something like that. But I walked in and there was 30, 40 artists with their portfolios, all of them older than me. And, you know, they had questions. They looked through your portfolio and everything. And I'm sure everybody's portfolio was fine, but none of it was computer because none of us had computers at home at the time. Right. None of us were doing any animation or anything. And, but I noticed, because, you know, they were working on the Dick Tracy game, with Warren Beatty and Madonna.
Of course.
And so they gave everybody an assignment, which was to draw an apple for some reason. You know, they just wanted to see how we took an assignment, and, you know, to come back on Monday. Well, what I did was I went to the newsstand and I got photos of whatever I could of behind the scenes of the movie. And I did an illustration of the Dick Tracy, you know, like Dick Tracy and the characters and everything like that. And so when I came in on Monday, I showed him the apple that they asked me to do. And I showed him this illustration that I did. And I said, here, you can use this for the game cover. And Mark Cerny gave me that, I like your moxie, kid, you're hired kind of thing. So that's how I got it. And they put me in front of this, it was like a box with kind of like a pen tablet thing. And you were able to select, it was very similar, but with color, like the Vectrex, you know, it was just like a standalone unit. And you were able to pick between, I think, 8 different colors, and the character was maybe about 12 pixels tall, and we had maybe 4 to 6 frames of animation, and we were just, here's the designs. We had to animate all of the characters for Kid Chameleon, and so it was just, and I knew nothing about animation. It was just figuring it out, you know. I watched enough Bugs Bunny, I watched enough cartoons, just figure it out. And so I did that for about 6 months until I graduated or whatever happened. And then I
kicked
moved
out
on.
of college. Wait, no.
Yeah.
Whatever. No.
But it was a great introduction to computers. It was a great introduction to animation, and you know, kind of just led me on that path.
Okay, we've got a couple of people in the chat distracted by your background. So let's talk about that really briefly. You have a fabulous hobbit hole there.
It's the hobbit hole.
Oh, and the thing. But yeah, the hobbit hole. How did that? Who built that? That's amazing.
My friend Ron is a contractor and a movie buff, and we found black mold in the closet. This was the basement.
Sure.
And so he's just like, you know what? He drew up plans. He's like, you're a hobbit. You never leave the house, you know? And so he's like, I'm going to turn this into a hobbit hole. So it's all just a facade. It's all paint. Like the wood beams that you see are foam, and, you know, the wood panels back there are painted to look like wood. And so, I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's just, you know, a facade, like a movie facade. And it's a magical place to make art.
Yeah, that's awesome. You see it every time you start up a new watercolor in the morning. So
yeah.
The other thing is someone's asking about that staff. Is that a replica of?
Yeah, that's Gandalf's staff.
Nice. Did you get Ian to sign it?
No. Could you imagine? I brought a couple paintings that Ian signed for me.
That's cool.
But I mean, could you? I was already bringing so much to fly to London.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if I flew to London with
the staff? No, I'm bringing this to Gandalf. Honestly, look at my feet; they're hairy. So that's hilarious. So it's very beautiful, and if you want to see more of that, each morning you'll get a glimpse of it when he currently is doing a contest where, not a contest, but a giveaway, where he selects one of his random followers and then sends them an illustration of them. So
yeah, it was a celebration of us hitting 400,000 followers
on TikTok.
On TikTok, yeah.
Very
and
nice.
We go live every morning too. And if you want to find out like a step-by-step of how we made it, there's a pinned video right at the top of my TikTok thing. So
I followed you today. Very nice.
Oh, thank you.
I'm only at 96,000. I'm still working on it.
96,000 is a lot.
I can only show my booty so much, but no, I don't actually. I don't appear at all. People are following me for nerdy things.
Yeah, you reach a point of showing your booty, and then the numbers start going back down after a while.
Mark, oh man, the number. Yeah.
Before the show, I did brief Scott on your video vendor.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So.
Such a classic.
Mayhaps he'll follow you back.
Yes.
Oh, that'd be cool. I'll change my background here to the video vendor. Hold on.
All right, so we covered Paperboy pretty much, and then now you're working at Atari, and
yeah, so I got a job offer to be oh nice, that's so cool.
It is very neat.
I got a job offer to be a game designer at Atari Games, so I kind of was a second generation Atari employee, which was really kind of cool.
And you worked on Primal Rage and Guardians?
Yeah, well, my first game there that I got brought on was Guardians of the Hood. And then Dennis Harper asked me to come on as a game designer for Primal Rage. It was just game design docket was all it was, you know. He was like, I want to do this. And there was actually some talk of Steven Spielberg was going to be doing a movie with dinosaurs, which wound up being Jurassic Park. And so it was like, can we turn this out in a year? Which was very rare for something at Atari. And so, and I was heavily into Street Fighter 2 at the time, and I love dinosaurs. And so me and Jason Leong, we were designing all these different dinosaurs and moves and just having a blast at it. And then they hired, forgot the guy's name. I'm sorry. It's Chris something. But they hired a stop motion animator because we were looking at it going, how are we going to do this? How are we going to animate? And everybody loved the Mortal Kombat look. So, and then, you know, we were kind of doing that with Guardians of the Hood, where we had a sound stage and, you know, it was a blue screen at the time,
sure.
You know, but basically we're digitizing stuff, and they just felt that was the look that they wanted, was a digitized look. And so the only way to really do that was either puppets or stop motion. And so stop motion wound up being the thing. And I've got cool photos of...
is that Chris Butler?
I think so. The animator?
Yes.
Yeah, the stop motion. Yeah, and it was just. No, it's been 30 years, So
Right.
I don't remember everybody's, but it was such a cool experience walking into that room and watching him keyframe all of the stuff, and so we would do that, and I loved they would make sculpts, and then they would do casting of the sculpts, and we would get to paint them, and just all the fun stuff. But that was really fun, and I worked on that for a year, and then they decided that you know what, we're not going to tie it into Jurassic Park. Let's take a couple more years and just really fine tune it. And I think that's when my attention span just kind of went, like it's just I thought the game was ready to go. And so we got married, my wife and I, and so this was 93. And when I got back, Ed Logg was looking for a game designer to work on a gun game. And that's all. He just wanted to do a gun game because the Terminator game was doing really well with the Uzi, and so he was like, let's do a gun game. So I thought, okay, well, this is a chance to work with a legend. And he says, whatever you want to do. And so I came up with something that was comic book based. And so I came up with, basically you're a bounty hunter and you're going after these different supervillains, and there's the henchmen and everything like that. And it was a really cool game. We got people in muscle, like bodybuilders to come in, and we got MC Hammer's costume designer to build costumes. And it was this, I if you look up on Twitter, you'll see some stuff about it. There was a thread about it, but it was such a cool looking game, and it was so fun. And I remember Ed Logg, I don't know what got up his butt that he wanted to take the team to the gun range. I think it was just, he couldn't believe that none of us had ever fired a gun before. We're just kids. We're in our early 20s, and so he took us all to the gun range. And I just remember Ed with like a 457 Magnum and flames coming in. It was like a cannon, just kapow, kapow, and they gave me like this little 10 millimeter semi-automatic gun, and I shot it, and it was like, man, this is kind of, and for me, for the first time, you're like, what a kick, but
yeah.
You're seeing Ed, and you're like, let me try. Ed's like, no, you don't want to try that. You'll be on the ground, and but he's joking. He's like, try shooting, like 2 in a row, because it's a semi-automatic. So I put one in the target and one in the ceiling, and and then they kicked us out. But it was it was really fun working with him. But I think he was kind of at that point, and you guys got a chance to talk to him, but I think he was kind of at that point to where he was ready to get out of Atari. And so he left to go work, I think, at Electronic Arts. And from that point on, the game just kind of just sat. And by the end of that next year, I was just looking for a job, because I was just like, okay, I'm on a game with no programmer, and there was really nothing to go into work for. And so it was just a really kind of awkward. And so I got a job to move out to Los Angeles. And then I found out maybe a couple of years later that they took everything we had done and just changed all the graphics and turned it into Area 51. And so that became Area 51. So I it was like Area 51 and Primal Rage came out very similar in times too. And I designed both of those games, but I didn't get my name in any of the credits of either of them because, I'd left. Yeah. And I don't know. It was just how it was. But again, none of the team has had any problem. We're still in contact with each other, and we're still, close, but it was just the way that Atari handled things. And, but yeah, it was an amazing experience working for Atari. I know I was 10 years older, than when I was first there with my dad. But I still pretty much spent about 60% of my time in the arcade, even when I was working. So I probably wasn't the best employee because and the cool thing was they would actually give you because I was a game designer, I can go and blow $40 in coins at the arcade, come back, give them a voucher or a receipt, and they would repay me because it was research.
What?
So I was doing that every day.
Yeah.
So I would get bored of the games at Atari, and then I would go and do research over at the local arcade for a couple hours, and then I'd come back and I would do a little bit of work, and then I'd head home. And but yeah, it was fantastic. It was. I mean, I've been speaking to a lot of the guys from Atari. I was there for the 25th anniversary, so we all got jackets, and there was like a big photo that we took of everybody and whatnot. But we all have really fond memories of just that building and working on, because we were given such free reign to just be creative. And there's a game, I know you guys are gonna know this, called Warlord. It was a top-down vector graphics.
Oh.
With the coolest side artwork ever. But
Brian has one.
It had 2 joysticks.
Cinematronics.
Huh?
Warrior.
Yeah,
right.
Thank you, Warrior.
Yeah.
And it had the 2 joysticks.
Yes.
And I loved that you kind of battle around like a pit.
2 pits.
And I loved the dynamics of that, like almost real time of swinging the sword. And I thought, for me, that was the most it wasn't like Street Fighter where you had to remember combos. This was you're really kind of doing it in real time. Like there's no combos or anything like that. So I had pitched a game called Gladiators that had different fighters throughout time. So you had Zulu warriors, you had samurais, you had barbarians, you had Valkyries, you had all these, and I designed all of these cool characters. It was going to be a top-down game with the 2 joysticks, so it was kind of a real ode to that game. And I had to leave that game as well. So I mean, it was just they would just let me. Yes.
There it is. That's in your office. Is that what's happening? Okay.
That's the artwork. So
the artwork.
So I do a lot of scanning and saving kind of these pieces. So I have this art. I can send it to you.
I have it, and I actually sent it to the artist, the original artist who drew it. I met him on Facebook, and they said, "Oh my God, yeah, I found a really high res line art version of it," and I sent it to them. But yes, it is one of my favorite pieces of art on the side of a game. And
Frank Bruner.
I have this vectored and ready for silk.
No. I love it. And so I mean, that was a really, really fun time. Great memories. Both times I got to go there, when I was a kid, and technically when I was still a kid, but in my early 20s,
right.
Working there. And I just a blast. I took so many photos, hundreds of photos, and I've got all my design documents and artwork and everything still. So I love to look through all of that. But I went to LA to go work for Malibu Comics, who had a game division. So I worked for Malibu Games, and I did games like The Strangers, which is some of the stuff. But I also got to design Tecmo Hockey. I was a game designer on that, and a few other stuff. We got to do StarCraft for the N64. We got to do a port of that, and so then you started to get into PS4 games and whatnot after that.
So what was your, like, of the games you've had the opportunity to work on, what was kind of your favorite project that you've done, whether it got released or not? What's the one that you look back and you're like, that one really, I enjoyed that for whatever reason? Could be how the gameplay was, the art, Like
I love Bounty Hunter, and again, I urge you to go and just type in my name and Bounty Hunter. I think in Twitter, and there should be a whole slew of artwork and whatnot, and you'll see it. It was really cool, and I think I did one on TikTok. I might have done a video about it too. I just thought that was like like making a movie, like we had superheroes walking around, like we had costume designers. It was just real. That was really fun. But the game I would have loved to have played that never did would have been that Gladiator game. I love the idea of, the greatest fighters of all, throughout history, battling in this top down view. I just thought because I also love Gauntlet too. I loved Gauntlet for what it was, but I wish that it had the two controls. Cause I've never been a fan of button smashing. I love like Robotron. I love the freedom that you get from something like that, where you can which is really similar to kind of how gaming is now. You're getting a lot more freedom, a lot more movement. You got VR and whatnot, but that was kind of what I was looking for with that. But that's the game I've got a ton of artwork for it, and no one will ever make it because it's no need to. But that's the one.
I'm looking at these bounty hunter shots that came up on Google.
Oh, you got it.
And so, some of them are great. There's like a still of a woman costumed.
Yeah.
Did you have to draw her? Or did they make the pattern after what you drew?
After I drew it, and then we got MC Hammer's a guy named Abraham Madison was MC Hammer's costume designer. First, we had to do casting to find somebody who would fit that 90s style comic book body.
Sure.
And yeah, so it was insane. And then
she's like, I can't believe I'm standing in this. I love it. And I mean, like, these are great. You just Google Bounty Hunter Scott Christian Sava and look at the image search. You'll see what I mean. But
yeah.
I mean, this was long before cosplay was a thing.
I know, right?
Yeah, right.
It's like,
I mean,
no Comic Cons to go to. Just
this is what caused cosplay.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen crazy stuff, but this is like, caveman paintings almost the times.
Yeah,
but...
yeah.
So, all right. So then there's an inevitable. So we talked a little bit before the show about your skill, and I complimented you on your excellent skills and how you've probably honed them over years. But you've always wanted to be in comics.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how has that driven your career? I mean, obviously we've heard the backstory of Atari, right? And game design, but beyond that.
Well, that was the draw for me to go to LA. Was I was working for a comic book company. And the reason why I even hooked up was they had seen some of my art. And they gave me a job doing my first comic book cover, which was a Star Trek Deep Space Nine cover, and that became a relationship. And then I found out that they had a game division, and it was like, well, if I can go work for a game company that also is a comic book company, that was a real cool thing.
Yeah.
And so we moved down there, and then I did several Star Trek. I did Star Trek Next Generation and Deep Space Nine crossovers. I did Mortal Kombat. I did a bunch of stuff, and that was really, really fun. Like, we had like Ozzy Osbourne coming out there. We had like they were doing like so much fun stuff that we were getting to do, and then Marvel Comics came in and bought them, and so Marvel Comics bought Malibu Comics, and then for a while we were there, and we were getting now every Wednesday we would get all of the Marvel comics on top of the free Malibu Comics, which was really cool. And I felt, man, I'm getting this much closer to working on Spider-Man, because that was all I wanted to do since I was a kid. And I had good connections, and every year since I was 15, I was showing my artwork, and I just didn't have the look they were looking for. And eventually they shuttered Malibu Comics, and I took a job at. This was very similar to what happened with me at Sega. It was in the newspaper that this company was looking for animators to work on the sequel to Casper, and this was in Burbank, and I'd never done anything other than video game animation, which was pixel by pixel, never done 3D animation. And I went in and I told them, what experience I had, and it was kind of like, well, I tell you what, why don't you go and you sit in the room here with the other animators? We'll give you a station to work at and see what you can do in a day. And so I had to keep going and saying, okay, how do I set it? They gave me Casper. It's like, how do I set a keyframe? How do I move? How do I move the hand? How do I do this? And so by the end of the day, I had Casper kind of flying around and waving, very rudimentary, right? But it was enough to get me the job. And the thing is that this was the mid to late 90s, 96, 97. Mm-hmm. And there were no animators in like anybody who was an animator was a 2D animator, a Disney trained animator. There were anybody who knew 3D and was really good at it was working at ILM and sure. Pixar, because Pixar had just maybe done Toy Story around that time, you know, but there were no 3D animators. So here I was in Burbank, surrounded by the only people who knew how to use the software were editors and engineers. And so as an artist, I had a leg up as long as I could understand, as long as I could figure out the software, which I was really good at because I'd been around technology since Space Invaders, I was able to pick it up, and I had a leg up because I knew human. I was studying human anatomy. I knew everything about how people moved and whatever. And so my acting was so much more natural, and everything I did was so much more natural that within 2 weeks I was the lead animator of Stretch, the uncle, and we did that movie, and then we did Casper Meets Wendy.
Oh,
yeah, and I got to do both of those movies. I worked on other stuff in the meanwhile. I did a bunch of Marvel trading cards, and I was getting work doing stuff here and there, and then that turned into a job at Saban doing Power Rangers, NASCAR racers, Cyber 9, Digimon. I got to animate a Spider-Man commercial, which was like fantastic for me, but it still wasn't the comic book. And every year I'd still get rejected. Every single year I would get rejected. There was not. Go ahead.
What was the cycle that you would do this? Because I relate to what you're saying. I wanted to work at a television news station, so I would constantly go in and look at their job board. I would sneak into their break room and then submit, whatever there was up there, I would submit. And then it actually got more and more outrageous where, oh, you want to be this guy that does this, and then I would just figure out how that worked. But how often would you retry? Was it just on a yearly thing?
Yearly at Comic-Con. We went to Comic-Con every year, and San Diego Comic-Con was nothing like it is now. No. So in the 80s and the 90s, it was, maybe 15, 20,000 people. It wasn't the huge thing that it is. But, that was the closest thing to where Marvel and, DC right. and Image and everybody would come out. And every year I would spend a year putting together my portfolio, trying to get better. And I just never was good at the whole penciling ink. No matter how much I love the art, I just didn't have a natural style that fit that. And so I've tried doing painted. I tried everything. And so it was around 1999, I met Marv Wolfman, who created the Teen Titans and Blade and Nova and Spider-Woman and did Crisis on Infinite Earth, and Len Wein, who created Swamp Thing and Wolverine. And I said, you guys wrote Spider-Man Mayhem in Manhattan. It was the first full-length novel, Spider-Man novel. And they said, we did? And they said, yeah. I said, I got it at home, and they didn't remember doing it. It was just, it was just a job that they got. They had to write some novels, but for me, it was like the coolest thing. And so I still had it from the 70s, and so I told them what I was trying to do. I told them my plight. I just want to be the artist on Spider-Man, and so I said, what if I took this novel that you don't remember and I adapted it? And would you guys come on as the writers? And they're like, yeah, sure. We would love that. So I did some illustrations and went down to Comic-Con the next year. So this must have been 98. So 99, I went to Comic-Con and I showed my stuff, got rejected. So Marv says, why don't you try something a little more realistic? Because I was trying more cartoony. Why don't you try something a little more realistic? Okay. So next year I came in with stuff that was more realistic. Still got rejected. So Marv says, why don't you try taking your day job, which was animation, and applying it to the comics? And I said, honestly, that's not art. I'm not drawing it. I want to draw this. And he's like, you're still the artist on Spider-Man if you do this. Just try it. And he convinced me. And so I took, created a 3D Spider-Man, 3D Dr. Octopus, and I did 3 pages. And I gave it to him. And that year, this was 2001. So, this is like 3 years of us me trying it just with them. And he brought it over and he handed it to Axel Alonso, who he had gotten hired at Marvel. Like, he was like, kind of like, you owe me kind of thing. And he says, here. And nothing, because the editors get so much stuff while they're at the comic conventions. They just put it in a folder, and they 3 months later, I get a call, and it said, the day of, this was the era of caller ID was the thing, so it said Marvel Comics,
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Where's my phone? Where's my camera?
Yeah. So I picked up the phone, and it was Axel, and he's like, hey, Scott, Marv gave me your thing, blah, blah, blah. He goes, I think this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. We want to make this. Is there any chance you're going to be out in New York anytime soon? I was like, I'm buying a ticket as soon as I get off this phone. I'm going to buy the ticket, and I'll be out there. And he's like, great. Come on out. I want you to meet Joe Quesada and Bill Jamis, and we're going to talk about your future here because we love this. I was like, great. So that was August of 2001. And
wait, the timing. What?
Yeah. So our flight was, I think, September 17th, 2001.
Oh.
And so, and I remember, because it was like 4 or 5 days later, they were starting to open up some of the flights again, because they grounded all the flights and everything. And the weirdest feeling getting on a plane and seeing, because I know it's normal for people now, but seeing, military and seeing people with rifles and all the, and all of the stuff that we had to do and everything. And then as the plane circled to JFK or LaGuardia or whichever one, Ground Zero was still smoldering.
Yeah.
And when we got there, we walked in, and everybody had just this terrorized look on their face, and you felt bad, but everybody was so nice. They knew I had flown all the way from California. They knew this was my dream. And so they all put on a cheery face, and they were like, whatever you want to do, we're totally good with that. And the only thing that they couldn't do was work with Marv Wolfman. And I was like, why? I mean, he's the reason why I'm here. And they said, Marv had created Blade, and Marvel Comics went and made Blade without his permission, but Marv owned the rights to Blade. And so he was suing them at the time.
Oh.
And so it was like, we can't work with him because he's suing us right now. And I remember going back, and I called up Marv, and I said, I'm going to turn it down. And Marv's like, why? I said, because. I said, this is your you made this happen. I won't feel right taking this job. He goes, Scott, he goes, do you know how many times I've written Spider-Man in my life? He's like, it means nothing to me. It's nothing. He goes, this is your dream. He goes, don't throw away your dream for me. And I was trying to do the right thing, and he's like, don't be a stupid kid.
Oh, nice.
Do your thing, you know. And so he's like, go and do it. And so I took the job. They hired another person to write it, and that writer decided, I don't want to do this story. And so he came up with one where the lizard's wife gets cancer and dies. It was really depressing. And I was like, what's going on? Where's Dr. Octopus? And why is all this talk about cancer? And so it was a really
Nobody wants to
story.
read that shit.
Yeah. So for 10 months, I didn't leave the house. I was the artist on Spider-Man, and I pushed the computers to their limit. I used every latest software, I was doing everything I could. I took half of the money that I was getting, and I paid better artists than me to model the characters, to design the characters, to do the backgrounds, because I was like, I want this to be. And so it is the best. Like, I can look back on this. It'll be 20 years ago this year. Yeah. So it came out in 2002 with the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie. And I could look back on it 20 years later and say, there is not a thing I could have done better. I laid it all out on, that was everything that I had. Every ounce of talent and technology is on there, and I'm proud of it. And so that was it. And then after that, it was like this great weight was off my shoulders, and I looked over my wife and I said, well, you want to have kids now? We'd been married 10 years at that point, like, want to have kids now? And she's like, yeah, sure. And then we had twins. And everything changed after that. But yeah, that was how I got to fulfill my childhood dream. I remember doing signings I got to meet Stan Lee, and I was working with John Romita Jr. and John Romita, and just all, Todd McFarlane, just all these people like I would get to bump into and work with and do signings, and it was just a really cool time. And I remember Marv telling me, he says, from now to the end of time, he goes, you'll always be the artist on Spider-Man. They can't take that away from you. You're one of the artists on Spider-Man. And I remember one comic book convention, I think it was actually in Baltimore. Someone came up with like a life-size poster of Spider-Man. It was the old John Romita, one with the white background.
Yeah.
And he had every artist and a lot of writers sign it. So it was just covered and thing. He's like, can you sign this thing? He's like, I've got all of the, and I was like looking at all of the names of all of the artists and all of the writers that I grew up on. And I was like, I can't. He's like, yeah, you can. You're the artist on Spider-Man. And it was just the coolest thing to add my name and like did a little Spider-Man drawing on it and stuff. And I have a picture of the guy holding that, and I still see that from time to time. But that was something that was kind of like life goal achieved.
Your wife must have been something special.
Yeah, she is.
Or still is, right? Because you've been together 23 years.
29th.
29th. Okay.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Amazing.
So, and your kids are like 20 billion years old now, right? Something like that. So, I'm not very good at math, but so you did this Spider-Man thing, which was so cool. And then right around the same time, Blue Dream Studios?
Yeah, we started Blue Dream in 1999. So that was the animation side of things.
Okay.
And I was doing so much work, so much animation for so many different. I was getting work from Nickelodeon and Lucas, and I was getting fun stuff. I was doing X-Files and doing Star Wars stuff. I was doing Aliens versus Predator. I was doing there's so many cool projects, but none of them, like, I was so laser focused on Spider-Man that none of them.
So were you doing like outsourced animation work for these houses? Or?
Yeah, like cut scenes, because this was before games could do the in-game cut scenes and have them look any good.
Okay.
And so
LucasArts.
Lucas, I did a bunch of commercials for them, lots of times for their toys and stuff like that. I remember doing some we were doing a lot of stuff for Jack's Pacific, which had a lot of licenses too. And
okay.
It's just, you know, like I just tons of stuff. Like we were, you know, there was so much work to be done, and the major studios were so big that they were so expensive, so they could come to me, and I had about 30 or 40 animators from around the world that we were a virtual studio. And so I didn't have to worry about overhead. I would just, you know, say, okay, here's your shots and here's your shots, and you need to model this, and we would get the work done in half the time for a tenth of the price. And so we just got a ton of work. And so we were making good money for a while. And then I did Spider-Man, and then, you know, things kind of dried up because I was so focused. You know, when you stop everything to work on Spider-Man for 10 months, you lose all of your contacts and everything else. And but it was good. It was totally worth it. I wouldn't change a thing.
Forget how to log into AOL Instant Messenger and talk to everybody.
It's like you know, before Spider-Man and after Spider-Man in the timeline in life, right?
Yeah.
So it's like BSM and ASM.
Yep.
Well, I do want to cover a little bit of a thing that's been a big part of your life besides Spider-Man, and that's animal crackers. Mainly, I want to cover because it covers a lot of ground. I think not just for you as a filmmaker, director, writer, and everything that you've learned up into that point, but I think you got to connect with a lot of people that, at least seemingly, were probably childhood heroes.
Yeah, it was. So when the kids were born, we moved to a bigger house because we had twins. And it so happened that we moved down the street, like 5 doors down from one of Marv's best friends, a guy named David Wise. And so Marv said, "Oh my God, you just moved 5 doors down from David Wise." He goes, "We play poker there every Friday night. Why don't you come walk down the street?" So and so they would play for quarters. So my wife got me a little Speed Racer lunch pail that I would fill up with quarters, and I would walk down, and she would bake cookies. I would come over with cookies and quarters and everything, and we would hang out. And it was Len Wein, it was Marv Wolfman, there was Jerry Bingham, who was the artist on Batman. There was David Wise, David Wise wrote for everything from Wonder Woman, Linda Carter, Buck Rogers. He created the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated series. Like, they handed him this comic and said, "What can you do with it?" And he created this animated series, you know? I mean, he was so we would hang out there, and, you know, they were all, I would say, a good 30 years older than me. And I was telling them that Marvel was offering me more work. Fantastic Four, Silver Surfer, yada, yada, yada. And they all said, "Don't do it." And they said, "Scott," they said, "you did it. You fulfilled your dream. Don't give them any more. You don't give them any more of your time, your talent." He said, "Look at us. We spent our entire careers working for them,
and now we're old and playing poker with you."
Huh?
And now we're old and playing poker with you.
Yeah, exactly. Quarters.
Right.
And it was just they gave me just this great advice. They said, "Own your own intellectual properties.
Oh, that's good.
Write your own stories." And so I took it to heart, and I started writing books for my kids. Pet Robots, My Grandparents Are Secret Agents, Cameron and His Dinosaurs, The Dreamland Chronicles. I wrote 20 books. I just kept writing books and books and books and books and books. And one of them was Animal Crackers. And we wound up moving to Franklin, Tennessee, almost 15 years ago. The boys were about 4 or 5 at the time. And I remember we got here, and the next month I got an offer from Disney for the rights to Pet Robots. And then a couple months later, MTV wanted the rights to Hyperactive. And then I think a year later, Fox picked up The Luckiest Boy. And so I was getting these nice little checks because they had optioned my projects. And after 3 years, the rights reverted back to me because they never did anything with them. Like, they paid me money and they just sat somewhere, or they hired a writer and they didn't like what they wrote.
Sure.
And so I looked at my wife and I was like, because people kept saying, "Oh, these are great ideas. This is a fantastic idea. We need to make a movie."
Yeah.
And then nothing would happen. And I go, "What are we doing wrong?" And I was friends with a guy named Kevin Grievous, who created the movie Underworld, and he had. If you've ever seen the movie, he was the Rays, the werewolf, the one who yells "blood" with the really deep voice, skins out of his chest. That's Kevin, and so he says, "Why don't you write your own screenplay?" Because they keep hiring screenwriters to write screenplays based on your books, but you know your books better than anybody else. The screenwriters are always going to change it. So the studio buys this book and says, "I like the story." Screenwriter's like, "Well, I'm not just going to copy that story. I'm going to put my own stuff in it." And then the studio goes, "Well, we don't like what it is now." And so he's like, "Why don't you write your own screenplays?" I go, "I went to art school. I don't know anything about writing screenplays." He goes, "I was a microbiologist when I wrote Underworld." He goes, "You don't need to have a degree in it. You just need to write it." And so he convinced me to write a screenplay. I wrote a screenplay, and the next year it got in front of Harvey Weinstein, and Harvey Weinstein loved it, and he wanted to turn it into a movie, but he'd get to keep all of the revenue, and I got nothing, and which is typical Harvey Weinstein.
Damn it.
And so I turned it down, and that was the time when I think we were really at our lowest, because the book publisher who I had written all those books for never paid us any of the money. We were in debt for $180,000.
Oh.
And so our car got repoed, our house was in foreclosure, we were on food stamps, and I was like, I had done everything I was supposed to do. I'd written books that were winning awards, and nothing I could do. And
this is the downturn in Behind the Music.
Yeah, this is the end of Act 2.
Yeah, so in Behind the Music there was some foreboding cue, and then it all changed.
And it was bad. And so my wife, Donna, says, "I think we really have something here. I think we can make this movie." She says, "I'm going to go back to work." The boys were maybe about 7 or 8 at the time. She goes, "I'm going to go back to work." And all she could do was get a job at Target unloading the docks at 5 a.m. Oh. And so she would get up and she would go do that. I would take the kids to school, get them ready, take the kids to school, and then just do everything I could to try to find an investor to get us money to make the movie. And it took 3 years. She eventually, like within a few months, she got a temp job as a secretary and worked, but she worked for 3 years. And one day we got the call that this Chinese investor was going to give us $10 million, and we were going to make a movie. And we went from food stamps to having $10 million in our bank account. And unfortunately, we couldn't spend it on us.
Right.
I mean, to me, this sounds suspiciously like some emails that I've gotten in the past.
Yeah. Nigerian princes. Yeah. No, it literally happened, and so now you're
bankrolled, and you have
we've got money, and I called my friend Jamie Thomason, who was a casting director who I'd worked with on several of the projects that I had sold to. We had done a couple pilots for Nickelodeon and Disney that never went through. And so, you kind of you meet people, right?
Right.
And so he's like, "Okay, you have money." And we had, $10 million. You're going to probably spend 500,000 of that on your cast. And so he's like, you have enough money for maybe one big name. And then the rest are going to be just your normal actors, but you can get like one big star. And he's like, "Who did you have in mind?" And I was like, when I wrote this, I only had 2 names in mind, like in my head. And one was Patrick Warburton for Brock. I just had that.
the name is
putty kind of voice.
Yes. The name is the exact same.
Yeah.
I mean, is it spelled the same?
Patrick Warburton?
No, Brock.
Oh, Brock? Oh, you mean yeah. I didn't know about what's the show that he's also Brock in?
Venture Brothers.
Venture Brothers.
Oh.
I wasn't watching.
I didn't know that either.
So Brock is like my favorite character in that show.
Yeah.
And so when I saw this movie yesterday, because I did my homework, I was like, I wonder if he named him Brock because of Brock.
No, it was just kind of a jerk name.
Yeah.
So but yeah,
you say the character is Brock. Okay,
yeah, he's funny in everything he does.
I know, he's awesome.
Yeah. So sorry, the grandfather clock.
That's right.
Okay, it's
that's
done.
pretty cool.
But and then the other name, and I don't know why, because it takes place in America.
Sure.
And the other brother doesn't have a British accent, but the other name was Ian McKellen, and I think it was just because I love The Hobbit and I love, it was just, it sounded funnier with Ian McKellen's voice.
Yeah.
And so Jamie's like, I don't know. We're nobody. Because he's like, I'm nobody who's never made a movie. I have $10 million, but I'm nobody who's ever made a movie. I don't think you're going to get Ian McKellen in your movie. So why don't we'll make the offer to him, but let's make an offer to like a bunch of other people and see if any of them bite. So he's basically saying, let's cast a wider net. So we did. And we would get calls from the agents saying, hey, Ben Affleck's really interested. Would you be interested in having Jennifer Garner play Zoe? So the husband and wife would be Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner. They were married at the time.
Yes.
And I was like, sure. So for a week, you're going and thinking, trying to imagine them as Owen and Zoe. And then scheduling conflicts or whatever happen. And then it's like, hey, Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson for Owen and Zoe.
Yes.
Okay, Captain America, Black Widow. Okay, I could do that. So for a week now, you're thinking of that. And then it becomes, Justin Timberlake and, what, and so you just, you start to get schizophrenic because those characters wind up having so many different actors' voices because the actors are, the agents are saying, well, I think this, my client would be interested in this, or there might be an opening for this, or they might be willing to do this and whatnot. And so that just kind of kept happening, but nothing really came through. And then one day, Jamie calls me and says, Ian McKellen said yes. What? And he's like, yeah. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And he goes, but, and I was like, what? He goes, because they have the same agents, Sylvester Stallone and Danny DeVito, who were other names we had offered for the other roles, said, well, if Ian McKellen likes this movie, it must be really good. So we want in on it too. And I'm like, we don't have enough money for them. And he's like, well, what do you want to do? So I had to go back to my investors and say, what do we do? And they're like, well, you got to take Sylvester Stallone and Danny DeVito too. And so, okay, so we did that. And so they gave us some more money. And then I was like, who do we do for Owen and Zoe, the main stars? And he says, well, there's this guy who I think's going to be really big one day. His name's John Krasinski. I go, never heard of him. And he's like, he's on this TV show called The Office. Never seen it. He's like, okay, well, trust me. He's going to be big one day. I was like, I trust you. And so we didn't have to do anything. It was just like, hey, John Krasinski, you want the job? He's like, yes, I'll take it. Because at the time he wasn't, getting any animation work or anything. It was good. So, and then he says, okay, for Zoe, he says, I've got Kaylee Cuoco. I go, never heard of her. He goes, she's on a TV show called The Big Bang Theory. I go, never heard of it. And he says, trust me, so, okay, fine. So we have our cast. We got, the rest of the cast was filled out with Raven Simone, Harvey Fierstein, Gilbert Gottfried,
Tara Strong, Wallace Shawn.
Yeah, James
Raven
Arnold
Simone.
Taylor. And I wrote a part for my buddy Kevin Grievous from Underworld, so he plays Samson the Strongman. And so everything was great. And it's 2015, and I fly out from from Nashville to Los Angeles to go and meet everybody, and they're on different days. So the first day was supposed to be Kaylee Cuoco and John Krasinski. So I meet John, completely adorable guy, just the nicest person in the world, and just loved the script, really complimentary, really funny. I still knew nothing about him because I was so enamored with the fact that I was going to be meeting Ian McKellen and Sylvester Stallone, because those are who I grew up with, you know. And so he was just the nicest guy. Well, Kaylee Cuoco doesn't show up, and so I'm like, okay. So we do the session with just his lines, and the next day I got to meet Danny DeVito, who was just fantastic, and Raven Simone, who was just wonderful. And then I flew home. So a few weeks later, we scheduled the next date. I go out there. John's there again. Kaylee Cuoco doesn't show up again. So I do the same routine, whatever, go back. So the next time I go out, I go there, and I didn't even get off the airplane, and there's a message saying Kaylee Cuoco's not showing up. And it was not Kaylee's fault. It was just her lawyer, I think, was trying to get more money, but she was making the same as everybody else. And it was like a thing called most favored nation. So like if we raised her salary, then everybody else's salary has to go up. So it was like, I had to go back and borrow like $3 more million just to try to cover everything. And yeah, so it was like, we can't do that. And she had agreed to that thing. And so that's why I was flying up. So anyways, so I got in, and poor John, you know, he sees me, and I'm just like, I just had to fire one of my stars, you know, and I was really kind of shook. And so he was like being really nice and everything. And so we did the first part of the session, then we took a break, and I came in and just to talk to him. And so we're chatting, and he's like, you know, now he didn't know what went on. He didn't know that we had to fire Kaylee or anything like that. He was just like, you know, he goes, my wife really thought your script was adorable. She was like, I can't believe no one's ever made a movie like this, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, well, please thank her for me, because I didn't know who he was married to, because I didn't know who John Krasinski was. So I was just like, oh, well, thank your wife for me. That's really sweet of her. And I walked out. Well, fortunately, the microphones were hot, because in comes Jamie, in comes Tony Bancroft, my co-director. Everybody comes running and like, would your wife want to be in the movie? And he's like, why? So they explained what had happened, and he's like, yeah. And so John just picks up his phone. He goes, hey, babe, you want to be in the movie? And she replies, sure. And that's how Emily Blunt got on our movie.
Oh, my God.
So it was just...
Oh, I love it.
You know, and when Emily came on the film, everything changed. Because she and John are so adorable together. They're so in love that they were just making each other crack up the whole time. They were just joking about everything. And like there's a scene where they get a box of animal crackers. So Zoe says, so what's in the box? So you have Emily going, so what's in the box? And John goes, what's in the box? And then Emily starts just laughing, and everybody's like, and that was the entire time was just them giggling. So I just said, why don't we just keep all of that in? They were ad-libbing so much. They must have written 50% of their lines. Oh. And we just kept it all in. We kept all the laughing. We kept that joy in the thing. And I just made her role so much bigger because you could see their partnership. You could see their, you know, because when you write a movie, you know, you can't write you can't flesh out every single character. But after I met all of the actors, I was like, I got to give Chesterfield a bigger role. I've got to give, Ian McKellen's character a bigger role in this character. And so I just kept making all of the roles as well-rounded as possible. And Zoe's really, really, I think, became a much stronger person because she is the one who really carries everything. And I think it played to their strengths because John can play the dopey, aw shucks kind of guy, and Emily can play the mom that's in charge, sure, and the decisive one, and it just worked really, really well. And they were just such a wonderful couple that it changed the film. It changed everything about the film. And so we got to just let them just make art and just record it, and it was wonderful.
I was saying to you before the show that Stallone was a fun surprise for me, because I was watching it and I'm like, that guy sounds really familiar. And he doesn't have any real lines in the movie. I mean, he does have real lines. They just don't come right away. And he plays a character called Bullet Man, and his one line is Bullet Man, and he says it in Stallone's voice, Bullet Man,
Yeah.
I can't even imitate it. It's just so Stallone. And you had to wonder if he was putting a bucket over his head for part of the lines, or if you added that later. But I could just imagine him. And there's one point in the film where he's laughing, and you can hear him laughing. Yeah. And I'm wondering if you took that cut from something else and added it in, or if he was laughing with the actors or what. But it was really fun to hear him do his little part.
I was nervous meeting him. I was nervous meeting everybody, but I was nervous meeting him. I was told that it was possible that he might come in with an entourage. He might be very standoffish. But he came in by himself with a cup of coffee, and he said, just call me Sly. And we spent 45 minutes with him just talking. And I had prepared a bunch of notes, because for Ian McKellen and Danny DeVito, we sat in silence staring at each other while we were eating, because I am a horrible conversationalist. So I learned from that, and I was like, I've got to write like cheat sheet questions for Sylvester Stallone. Sure. Otherwise it's going to be awkward. And so I just asked him a bunch of questions, and he was giving me Rocky stories. He was shadow boxing. He put his hand on my shoulder, and he said, Scott, he goes, this is your Rocky moment. This is your film. You created this out of nothing. Because don't let the studios take this away from you. Don't let anybody take this away from you. And so I got the Rocky speech from Rocky. You know, it's like everything that could have
Academy Award bleeping winner 1975 Rocky.
Yeah. I mean, he was everything. And so he put every bit of joy, everything into, because we just thought it was funny. When I was writing the character, and I sat around with, we had like a comedy, Dean Laurie, my co-writer who wrote Arrested Development, he brought in a bunch of other writers. We kind of had like a comedy punch up, and that's where we kind of came up with the idea of, what if he just says Bullet Man? Like, it's just funny. Now this was before I Am Groot. This was before, but I think they got the idea from, American Police. Was it? It was the puppet thing, movie.
The one the South Park guys did.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess there was like Matt Damon, and all he said was Matt Damon. Or Matt Damon,
yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, Matt Damon only said Matt Damon.
Yeah. So they thought that was so funny, and I thought
Team America.
That's kind of funny.
Team America.
And and then we're like, I wonder if Stallone will think that's funny. And he came in, and he was just like, this is really funny. And he just had a blast with it. And so he was just the nicest guy. And
well, he had to have read that line like, I don't know how many times. Because it's not the same every time. You could have just looped it.
He did every line multiple times. And he was acting it out too, like Bullet Man,
Bullet Man.
He was just so good about it, and so nice. And then we did afterwards, the EPK, which is the electronic press kits, and that's where you interview them. And in the interviews, he was just so gracious, and he was like, I met Scott, and he's just such a nice guy, and I just love the script, and this is Rocky moment. So like I've got it recorded, and so it's
that's really fun.
It's just fantastic. But yeah, to grow up with these actors and get a chance to meet them was amazing. It was just it was really cool.
I still have to see Rocky versus Drago, but I haven't seen it, but I really want to see it.
Rocky 4?
Yeah, so he redid it. He recut it.
Oh, yeah, there's a new edit where he removed 80s robot and all that other fun stuff.
Yeah, and he added 22 minutes of footage, but the film is still the same length, so it's a completely different movie.
He also used different takes of the fight from different angles, so that the fight's actually different now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that guy, just wow.
Still going strong. So, okay, give us, tell us something, I don't know, proverbial or, prophetic about your experience doing the movie. Everything that you've talked about tonight. You've had a long journey to get from the son of an mechanical engineer.
Yes.
Which, by the way, that must have been part of his DNA was in you for you to just be able to take on computer animation at that time.
Yeah.
And move
my dad
that way.
My dad had no fear in anything.
Yeah.
So basically, if someone said, like, his job after Atari was working on the space shuttle at Lockheed. He didn't even have a college. He never went to college, barely had a high school degree. But if you said, here's something, he'll say, I'll figure it out.
Yep.
And so I got that from him, which was my entire career. Like, I'd never directed a film before.
That's crazy.
It out, So yeah, I got that from him.
And all the photos, it looks like you know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, I don't see.
So, what's your sage bit of knowledge for our chatters and for the listeners that hear this after?
Sage bit of knowledge. I don't know. I mean, I guess everything seems scarier before you do it. And I mean, I've been an animator, game designer, comic book artist. I've owned an animation studio, got to be the artist on Spider-Man, made a movie. I've written books. And it always seems scary the first time. But every expert they had their first time too, one time. Mm-hmm. And it's the fact of just not giving up and repetition and learning. And, so I would hope that if there's something out there that you want to do, don't let failure is just part of learning. You have to fail. That's when you work out till your muscles fail and then they get stronger. And so that's what I don't feel failure.
Did Rocky tell you that?
Failure. What?
Did Rocky tell you that?
Whoa!
Sorry, I'm just quoting Stallone. It's just failure is just part of learning. It's just part of getting stronger.
I like that. I want to thank you for being our guest tonight.
It was my pleasure.
And please stick with us a little bit longer after the show so we can give you a proper send off.
Okay.
And I think Whiskey Flipper or somebody has a after party room in Arcade Radio's what you call that?
I'll pop in there.
Yeah, it's that Discord thing.
Discord, there you go.
Yeah. We have Discord.
All the kids are doing the Discord.
Yeah, we're discoing now.
Yeah.
It's Discord. I don't even know that URL. Somebody should put it in the chat though. So, but thank you again for being on the show. And this is about we have like a little outro, and then we'll say our proper goodbyes and pay you what we agreed upon before the show.
Adieu. We will pay you adieu.
Thank you for having me.
All right, hang on. All right, so well, this is an old one.
Oh, I like this one.
Yeah. So this has been the Double R's. That's Arcade Radio. Thanks for listening tonight. We hope you had a great time.
Check out our website, RcadeRadio.com. That's RcadeRadio for those podcasters that are listening. For all of our social media and swag links.
Call and leave comments, just like Bobby Z at 612-548-GAME. That's 4263 for those of you who can't figure out the letters. And it really works, so please call and leave messages.
If you're enjoying this thing, pick up some Arcade Radio swag over at teespring.com/arcaderadio or spring.com, whatever they're calling it these days. We also have a Patreon campaign that starts at just $3 a month. Any little bit helps. Yeah, over to you, Mark.
Subscribe to our Twitch channel to follow us and click on that notification bell so that you'll know when we're streaming live. That's twitch.com/arcaderadio using the aforementioned spelling.
If you like what you're hearing, consider dropping us a 5. Don't consider. Drop us a 5-star rating at Anchor, iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you consume the podcast.
That's going to be it for tonight's show. We hope you had a great time, and we'll see you on the next episode of Arcade Radio. Ha! Ha! Whoever does these is pretty good at it, you know?
Yeah, he must know music. Hello?
I can still...
Offline.
Scott, thank you so much. That was amazing.
So good.